Today we are going to make a graph of our class's favorite smoothie flavors. We are going to choose among 3 different flavors: strawberry, mango, or raspberry. Why might you take a survey like this? Well, one reason is if the teacher wanted to make smoothies for her students, it might be nice to know what the favorite flavors are to know what kind of fruits that he or she should buy for their class. Before we collect our data, we are going to look at this grid paper. This grid paper is what we are going to use to collect our data. And we're going to first set up our graph. So we're going to label the x-axis right here with the 3 smoothie flavors. So I have strawberry, mango, and raspberry. And in this graph, we're going to consider how we can collect all of our class's data. And we only have one piece of paper to do this. So yesterday we collected data using 1-inch tiles, and 1-inch tile represented one person who voted for that color. So in this case, it would be voting for the smoothie flavor. What happens if our whole class chooses strawberry? Our class has 20 students in it. Would we be able to fit 20 students on this graph paper? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It only goes up 10 grids. What are some other ways we can collect this data in case all of our class picks the same flavor? Well, you might decide that we might need to collect data side by side like this, and that way we can fit 20 students. Or you might have said that we needed to add another grid paper to make this graph taller. But what would happen if we just stacked one response on top of the other? So now this 1-inch grid right here represents 2 students. And this mango response here also represents 2 students. And now for strawberry, it's only 2 inches high, but since it's doubled, it represents 4 students. This is what we're going to be investigating today. We won't always use our square 1-inch tiles to represent data, so that's why it's really important that we label our graph. So I labeled my x-axis with my different types of flavors, but then I labeled my y based on how many students responded that that was their favorite color. And remember, instead of going by 1, I decided I was going to go by 2 to save some space. Okay, so 1 inch actually represents 2 students. It's important that we label our graph like this because if I didn't have square inch tiles, I could just fill in this grid to represent 2 students. And now I'm representing 4 students. What if 5 total students like strawberry? Well, I could just fill this grid in halfway to represent the 5th student and not go all the way up to 6. Let's look at the data from our class. Okay, when we surveyed our class, this is what we got. 10 of us liked strawberry, 4 of us liked mango, and 8 of us liked raspberry. You're going to use that data to complete this task, favorite smoothies. We've already done the first couple questions. First, you have to pick what your favorite smoothie flavor is. Then you're going to label your graph. Remember to draw the lines on the graph paper. Let me show you what that looks like. I use the same color, but you can see that the blue on this line is a little darker because I drew my lines in for my X and my Y axis. Then it says make labels. You need to label number of students, right here. And then flavors down here. Finally, it says to copy the tally chart that our class made. And here is that tally chart. Then it says to graph your class choices from the tally chart onto your graph. How many students chose each flavor? How many students are there altogether? How would you show one student on your graph? So remember, these are all things we discussed in the beginning when we created this graph. Now it's your turn to show what you know about creating this bar graph. Good luck.